block. If you try to use the same function, let us say I will take this function, I'm copying it. If I use it outside the catch block, you will see what is the difference. So in here, I will try to put a script. You'll notice the difference now. You cannot use these functions outside of the catch block because it cannot catch that exception. Now, if I just try to validate it, it's going to error out. See, referring error function, error message outside the catch block. Do you see this? I highlighted it. And whenever you wanted to read through, you can also say view so that it displays you all at a time. So this error message, if you see, referencing error function, error message outside catch block. So certainly you need to have the catch block, only then it can capture that error message. Okay. It makes sense to have the catch block there now. So I'm going to remove anyhow this script and directly connect it. So now I have a full-fledged job here. I have followed the naming conventions. I have defined as required, as suggested by data services, following all the best practices. I have the try catch block. I am capturing the error if at all it occurs. So let me first error it out so that it will print that statement even if you want me to. But we can error it later. First I wanted to start with a success rather than a failure. So now the job is complete, guys. I right click and say execute. So when it executes, it will try to save everything and then execute. If you don't want to save certain data flow or certain workflow because you have moved more than one workflow, then there is also a way. You can only select and unselect and say yes. Then it saves only that particular one. If you see, I have only one job server. In every of your environments, in general, you will have only one job server, except if you go into a production environment where you can have more than one job. So the execution options, the trace, global variables, there are a lot of global variables as part of this job, but we haven't used any of them. We will certainly use it in the later point. Currently, we don't need all them. Substitution parameters, we don't need to touch any of this. By default, let them be whatever they are. And I say OK. The job ran, with a failure. Let us see what kind of error it gave. I wanted to start the first job of today with a success, but it failed. But that's okay. Not found. It may be not. It has been deleted or redefined. Workflow. It says the workflow is not found. You know why it says it's not found, guys? When running the job, I said only save the job, not the workflow. And so it saves this particular error. And if I am right, it should have captured the error message and it should print out if it has properly captured it. I don't see it. The reason is it is kind of a different error that it did not at least go into the workflow. So what I will have to do is I'm not going to do anything except that I will say save all. See, the workflow and data flow will be saved now. And now if I run this job, it is going to be successful for sure. Because earlier it did not save the job properly because the workflow under it is not saved. So the job completed successfully, but the yellow symbol popped up here. You see? Anywhere, this is a universal standard for a warning. If you are inside your car, if you are going out of the gas or anything, it gives you a warning. In the same way, it gave me a warning saying cannot convert this particular number to date using the format string like this. So I have to provide this kind of a format, but I did not provide it. So it just gave me a warning, but we will go and fix it. But the 3 records got loaded. Let us see the statistics. If we have any errors, it would have captured here. We have to understand a small important point here. If you see, this particular job was using virtual memory that is less than so and so bytes, which is generally 2 gigabytes, let us say. If it is if it is less than 2 gigabytes, it generally uses the cache. If it is more, like if I had volume of data, maybe a million record, which is more than 2 gigabytes, then you will see that it is going to switch it from virtual memory and it will use the file server. Anyhow, we'll come to that in a very detailed manner when we try to load a huge file. But for now, if you see, these are the statistics. Where I see these statistics, just after the job is completed, I have it designer, I have these logs. Monitor, I have the monitor here, which will say you which data flow is executed, how many rows are being extracted, how many rows are being transformed, and how many are being loaded. It is 3 steps involved, and so you see 3 steps. If it had a 4th step, you will surely see one more entry here. And finally, the error log. Whatever kind of error and warning it will try to give you, it will print here. So you see this. So now actually there was an error, right? It is not an error, a warning that I could not convert this. Let us see what is not been converted and how we convert it. I go back. If it would have errored out completely, then it would have gone into the catch error block, but it did not error out completely. So that is the reason it did not go into the catch block. Now let me see what is the data that got loaded. I have trouble viewing the data here. So let me go into the database and view it from here instead of struggling to view it from data services. So I have loaded the sales org dimension table. It's not editable because there is no primary key defined. That's fine. I'm not trying to edit it. All I wanted to do is select the data, right? So I right click and say select rows. See here, date is null, whereas you have the sales office number as 1, 2 and 31, NW, NE and South SW, which is northwest, northeast and southwest. Let me see in my flat file. Is this the same data I had or something else? Exactly the same. 0, 1, 2 and 3. But you see, the appended values are gone. If I wanted to still keep that appended value, then I will have to declare it not as integer, but I will have to declare it as a varchar. But you really not require the appended 0. That is a flat file. The data was stored in such a format. But you don't want it to really store a number as a character, so you will not do that. Now is the actual challenge for me. Why is the date not properly being transformed? So let me go back and make changes to that particular date function and see if it works. So in here, what it says is input date format actually, but I did not give it properly. That's the reason it threw me a warning. So if I go and change the format, it should work. So the input format is like this. So if you provide this format, it will convert it and load it properly. So now I already have the data in target. I don't want to duplicate the data. So how I delete the data? You can always do it from data services itself. You don't need to log in back. I can always go and run a delete statement here. That is one option. But in general, you will not have control on database when you wanted to do it from there. So I can always say delete data from table before loading. I check this box so that next time if I run, it is going to delete the data from target table before it loads again. So now I check that box and let me rerun. I will also show you something new in the second run. So I ran the same job again. It again threw me a warning. Now what was it? Invalid value, the date. You know what? I did the mistake. If you see, I am calling it as date, month and year, but it is stored as month, day and year. I think so. The reason why I say that is it is not able to convert because the invalid value day 60. There is nothing like a day 60, right? So it has taken the first two values as the date, but I don't have a leading zero there. That is the problem, that it could not convert. So let me go back and change the format. If at all it works, it works. Else we will do something else. So I will say D, a capital D. A capital D is a dynamic date format. If there is a 2 digit, it will take 2 digits. If it is only 1 digit, it will take only one. But you know what would have screwed up? I have changed the format unnecessarily, as recommended by what we saw there. But if you see here, there is a zero. So this zero is missing. So what I wanted to do is I go back into the file format and I wanted to make it as a varchar instead of an integer. That's where it has gone wrong. If you see here, this particular one is being recorded as an integer. So I right click and say varchar. When I say varchar, it will automatically show me what I want. And I'm going to do this also as varchar, because if you remember, the appended 0 is gone. Anyhow, I can remove that 0 for sure, and it is very easy for me to do it. I will show you. Now the data is changed, guys. Please notice. I have changed the format. I mean, the data type is being changed by me. So because the data type is changed and the target is integer, see, the sales office in target is integer, date is date time, region is varchar. So let me now go into the date format, and now if I have the DD even, there is no harm because I have the leading 0 here. When I have the leading 0, it should convert it properly. That's what is the point. So I validated it. I don't have any issue. But now I'm going to show you something new. I don't want to bore you running the same thing again and again. So we will see something new now. What is that new? I will show you now. So I have still this as checked, saying delete data before loading. So it's going to delete the data before it loads again. Earlier I said only execute. Now I'm going to say start debug. I will tell you what is start debug. When you have an issue in a data flow, you will have to run it in the debug mode so that you can see closely what was the issue. So now the job is run successfully and it says it wanted to exit the debugger. Do you want to do it? I say no. Why I said no is, if I now get back into the data flow, you'll see something interesting. You see the binocular symbol here? We can actually visualize data here. That is what is the importance of this binocular symbol here. But you know, again, I don't know if it is a memory problem or something. You see here, call stack unavailable. That's something I don't know. I have to go and look at the job server and actually fix that, because it's not able to pull out the data. I don't know the reason. In general, it has to show you the data after the transform and before the transform. That is what is the intention of having the debug mode there. But currently, if you see, it is not working. The debugger, though it performed properly, but when I wanted to see this data before the query and after the query, somehow it is not working. So I have no quicker way of fixing this problem. So I'm sorry about that. But let us go and see what is actually in the data. So in the debug mode, if you say stop debug, the job comes out of the debugger. Now it gets committed. Now let me go and see what is the data talking here. If I remember the command correctly, it should be an F8 or